Our YouTube's back, of course, talking about some more FF7 Rebirth, and we have Kitase's New Year 2023 message that involves Rebirth specifically and gives us a kind of an update on the game. But also, he mentions that there's some sort of huge unannounced thing that we've yet to see, which is pretty exciting. Now, the translations we're going to look at are from Audrey. I'm not sure if anybody else out there has translated like this message from Kitase yet. The translation is exciting for what it says. There is a bit of an issue I have with it, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So let's read this tweet. So it says, Kitase says in his New Year's 2023 message, FF7 Rebirth development is accelerating at a fast pace. You might wonder, will that memorable scene appear again? I hope you can use your imagination and explore the possibilities while waiting for the next news update. Now, initially reading that tweet, it's pretty exciting, because if we're talking about a memorable scene that is yet to happen in the remake story, it's going to happen sometime in Rebirth, the first thing you'd go to is Aerith's death. Like, it's one of the most iconic moments in gaming history, right? And then also, if that's what he's talking about with this New Year's message, that would also be confirmation that we're getting up to at least that point when it comes to the Rebirth story, right? Like, that would confirm, if we're talking about Aerith's death, that we're going to get up to the City of the Ancients and Aerith's death moment and stuff like that. Now, whether or not she dies, that's kind of what he's being ambiguous about here with this message. So I've already seen people like excited about this, like quote tweeting it and replying to it with, this is confirmation that we're getting up to that point in the game. Will Aerith live? Will she die? He's talking about Sephiroth killing Aerith, etc., etc. But as is often the case when it comes to Audrey's translations, she does some follow-up tweets that kind of either correct herself or she offers like a different interpretation that kind of completely ruins that initial translation. So she says, alternatively, you can also interpret the quote from Kitase to be more general, such as, how will those memorable scenes appear again? So you might not be talking about only one scene that I'm sure most people are thinking about. So if it's that latter translation right there, it's significantly less exciting because we're just talking about multiple memorable scenes that are coming up in FF7, which we're excited to see. We want to see those, but like these translations are completely different phrases and interpretations and meanings, right? Because the first one is insinuating one scene and whether or not it'll even be happening in the game. So we're talking about Aerith's death potentially and whether or not she will die or she might live, right? Because of the changes at the end of Remake. Like, these are completely different things. It's like, which one is it? I know that Japanese is hard to translate accurately to English. I get that. We've had this conversation 100 times. It's just, like, I don't know which one of these to believe now. Are we talking about Aerith's death? Or are we just talking about a bunch of memorable scenes that we're all kind of looking forward to? I'm not trying to dunk on Audrey too much in the video, but like Twitter these days shows you like the insights, like the views and shit that tweets have. And, like, that first tweet has almost 60,000 views as of right now, whereas that correction tweet she did, which is like 4 or 5 tweets down in the replies, has like less than 10,000. So you're talking about like 50,000 plus people are seeing that first tweet that's more exciting, potentially talking about Aerith's death. That might not even be what this shit means. And it's just, it's one of those things. Audrey, we don't really use her for translations too much anymore. You guys know that. We used to a couple years back. She was kind of the go-to all the time. But I feel like other people in the community give more like literal translations, more accurate translations. And maybe somebody else will translate this and maybe it says the same thing. And maybe it is just talking about one singular moment. If so, that's still very exciting. But I don't know what to believe currently. So I don't know. I don't want to break it down too much because it might not mean anything at all. Anyways, moving on to the other interesting bit from his New Year's message, and it's just her, like, recap of it. It's not the actual, like, translation or whatever, but it says, Kitase also says that aside from the update on FF7 Rebirth, they have something huge planned that they have not announced yet. So stay tuned for more information soon. He wishes everyone a great 2023, and also says Yoshi is working hard on FF16, so please support the new title too. So I assume that this unannounced thing is in regards to FF7, just because it's alongside the Rebirth quote, but also before the FF16 related stuff, but I guess it could be something else entirely, but we talked about this with, like, the last video, right? I said that there was, like, at least one more unannounced project. We got, like, a quote from Nomura earlier this year. So there's multiple projects in regards to FF7 that were started sometime after Remake. We hadn't seen what those were yet at the beginning of this year, but obviously we got Reunion. Reunion was probably one of those, but that still left at least one more project that we're just not aware of, and I'm assuming that's what Kitase's hinting at here, and if that's the case, again, it's related to FF7, but what it is, again, we just can't possibly know that. We do have that trademark that was filed like mid this year for something called Unnumbered. Again, that could be something FF7 related, could be something else entirely, who knows. But it seems like there might reveal something FF7 related next year as well, alongside all the stuff we're going to get for Rebirth throughout the year. So that's pretty exciting. That's more or less the video, my dudes. A little bit shorter than our usual videos here, but I'm also making this video kind of late at night. There's not a whole lot to break down from this. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, because if Kitase is talking about one memorable scene in Rebirth, then it's got to be Aerith's death. And there's a lot to break down. There's a lot to talk about that. Because a lot of people don't think it's possible that Aerith could live this time. I just think they could kind of do what they want, right? We talked about this before 1,000 times, about Aerith dying maybe at a later point or not dying at all. Who knows what's possible? I want them to want to be able to do new shit. If they want like some sort of bold change to the FF7 story of Aerith living somehow, I don't know how likely it is, but I'd be open to the idea. It'd be interesting. Plus, I want Aerith to live and Zack to be alive so they can meet up IRL, not in the live stream, and like have that fucking reunion again, for lack of a better term. Pun intended, I guess. But what are your thoughts? What do you think? Which of these translations that Audrey gave us do you think is the more accurate translation? Maybe you guys, I know some of you can actually like, speak and translate Japanese and stuff. Like, what is Kitase saying here? I'll have the shit linked in the description below if you guys want to look at it. That's the video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Social networks in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, _YT. That's it. Bye.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Rogaine, or leave it like Cobain.